What's up, everybody? It's Philip. Sorry it's been a little while. If you can't tell, I'm in a new setup here, and it's because we made the move cross country to Florida. So Las Vegas to Florida, it's like almost, 2,000 miles, almost 3,000 miles. And I've been kind of tired. New job, new everything, so kind of took it easy for a little bit, but I think I'm ready to get going here and feel like I got my legs under me a little bit. And as many of you may be aware, President Russell M. Nelson actually just made an announcement emphasizing the importance of us using the actual name of the church and trying to avoid church nicknames such as Mormon, LDS, shorthand nicknames, things like that. And really emphasizing the fact that we need to use the name of the church as it was revealed to the prophet Joseph Smith. In other words, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. He said another acceptable shorthand would be the Church of Jesus Christ. And we can refer to ourselves as Latter-day Saints, but he made an emphasis to express that it is not ideal to refer to ourselves as Mormons or as LDS, as these do draw away from the intention of having Jesus Christ in the title of the church, which I think is really cool. So I don't know exactly what that means in terms of the name of this podcast, being the Pro-Mormon Podcast. So I might be changing the name of it. I'm not 100% sure yet, because if I do, I want to make some, maybe catchy little name change or something. But stay tuned for that. But without further ado, I thought this was a great opportunity to talk about prophets and how important they are and how, honestly, they make life a lot easier. They really do, right? And I think this, when I was a missionary, I think this really kind of helped me understand this a lot, because in my last area of my mission, there was actually some people that would come to our house and try to do missionary work to us, which was kind of funny. But I always tried to be as friendly as possible, and I tried to talk to them and at least kind of listen to what they had to say, because I was hoping people would do that whenever I was a missionary. So I thought, the golden rule, might as well listen to people. They're just there to talk about Jesus anyway, so I like to talk to them. And for the most part, everything was very civil. We didn't really get heated very often or anything like that. There was a couple times we had some arguments about things, but the people that came were very friendly. It was actually funny. I was in Panama as a missionary, and they were actually from America, so we spoke in English the whole time, and it was kind of funny. But I remember there was a couple times that they would ask questions about relatively difficult things that a lot of missionaries have a hard time answering. And I realized, after trying to explain thing after thing after thing, that the basis of all of this could be very easily explained if you have a testimony of a true and living prophet, a current living prophet, right? If we really understand what a prophet is, and we believe he is a true prophet, now that's a very difficult thing for people to grasp, and I get that. But once you do understand that, a lot of things become very simple, right? Because if you do in fact believe that Joseph Smith was a prophet, then the Book of Mormon must be true, right? It just is some simple reasoning, right? So if you do in fact believe that Russell M. Nelson is a prophet, then this announcement about making sure we try not to use certain terminology shouldn't bother you at all, right? Because it all comes back to your testimony of a prophet. And now, that being said, I'm not saying it's always easy to follow what a prophet says. Sometimes he asks very difficult things, right? People have a hard time with what prophets ask. We have examples of this in the scriptures all the time, right? So me saying that it's simple, I'm saying it's simple in terms of reasoning in your head at times. It's not simple to follow, right? There are times that prophets ask very difficult things of us, right? Paying tithing is not an easy thing for a lot of people, right? The word of wisdom wasn't an easy thing for a lot of people. So I'm not saying that it's an easy act, the act of following a prophet's easy, but the reasoning of it, that's what I was trying to get at. So I think this was just a great opportunity to really kind of jump into that, because this might not be a very difficult thing, but I got a podcast with the word Mormon in it, and the prophet just said that we should stop using that word. So I don't know exactly what that means for the podcast, but stay tuned. We'll see what happens there. But yeah, I just think this was a good opportunity for me to jump on that. And it was funny, I recently had to give a talk about prophets too, and I've been thinking about this quite a lot. And in this talk, I remember I referenced the fact that I'm a huge fan of golf, right? I think I mentioned golf in another podcast before as well, but I'm a big fan of golf. And one of the interesting things about golf compared to other sports is the function of a caddy, right? In my talk, I went all into the history of what a caddy is and where that comes from and everything. But essentially, the caddy is the coach slash helper of the golfer, who's the only person that's allowed to be with the golfer and communicate and interact with that golfer during the tournament, right? Because of that, back in the day, caddies were basically just like a servant, but because of this role of being able to be with the golfer at any time, golfers really started to utilize this as an advantage competitively, right? So they would send the golfer out beforehand to map out the course, right? And make detailed notes about where every little trap is and where every slope is and exactly how far that tree is from the hole and all these notes. So that way, when they're in the situation, they don't have to rely on their own intellect and their own memory. They can go towards their caddy and just say, hey, did you make some notes about this? What should I do in this situation? And I thought this was a really cool analogy because I started to realize that I think caddies, as weird as this might sound, caddies have a very interesting connection to the role a prophet plays in our life, right? While he may be able to go before us and explain things and take notes and have this great knowledge to share with us, just like the golfer, it is ultimately his responsibility to make the shot and to perform in that moment. It is still our responsibility to accept what is being told, pray about it, find out the truth for ourselves, and then act and actually follow the commandments and do all that. It's still on us, right? Just because we have the information there and we have this guidance doesn't make our lives any easier by any means. We still have to act on it and we still have to choose to obey, right? And I just thought that was a really cool thing because the caddy can give a lot of cool information, but he can't hit the ball for the golfer. The prophet can give you a lot of cool information, but he can't make you follow the commandments, right? He can't make you live a happier life. It's still on you, right? So I just thought that was an interesting, similarity, analogy, whatever you want to call it. And as I have recently read that about, President Nelson making that announcement, I thought it was a cool way to kind of get me back into the groove here. And, hopefully that kind of just opens your mind a little, cool little tidbit there for you. Remember, follow me on all my social media and stuff, because if I am going to change the name of the podcast, I'll let you know there. And, I'm excited to get this thing rolling. It's been a little while since the last one, as I mentioned, so I'll probably start this one off by calling it like Season 2, Episode 1 or something weird like that, just so that way it feels like a little bit more of an official intro to the next, little chunk of stuff we're going to be doing here, whatever it is that we're doing. So thanks for watching. If you're still watching at this point, I know it's quite a while, so I appreciate the time. Hopefully you learned something or felt something new or got a new insight. If you have any questions or anything you'd like me to discuss, please leave it in the comments below. Reach out to me on any of my social media platforms like Twitter, Instagram, whatever, and I'd be sure be happy to try to explain anything I can to you guys. So I think this time around, if I don't get any other requests, I'm going to start talking a lot about mission stuff. I think it's a very important thing to talk about, especially for people who may be interested in, what we do on missions and maybe preparing to be a missionary. I'd love to be able to give some insight on that. So I think I'm going to make a little series of episodes here all about mission work, and should be fun. I think if you haven't noticed, I like to talk about mission work. I think it's really important. So it's something I'm passionate about, and hopefully I'll be able to share that passion with you guys a little bit. So once again, I do appreciate it. Be sure to stay tuned, and I'll see you in the next episode. Peace out.